I think the irony would be if you got like a Star Wars tattoo.
Right.
Do that. Just throw the fandom in an uproar.
Yeah. Take that to the convention.
I was gonna say he's going to a Star Wars convention soon. So.
There you go.
Yeah, I can get a My Little Pony tattoo on
Oh boy.
Genius.
Listen up, Vegas. Welcome to the Slaughterhouse.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Slaughterhouse. I'm your host, Hazel Phoenix, and joining me today is Ken from Toykennections, Brian, aka Hooded Cobra Commander 788, and our very special guests, Operation Recalls, Carson from 3D Joes, and the legendary Ron Rudat.
All right.
Amazing.
All-star cast.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah.
All right. Which one of you is blowing air deeply into their microphone?
It's probably me. I'm just so excited.
I've gotten phone calls like that late at night. It was triggering me.
I think what I'm
like a little.
I lost the little cushion little pad thing that went on
Yeah,
top
yeah.
of this, and so I got to keep in mind to like keep it away from my face because there's nothing blocking it.
It's okay.
It's
It
fine.
sounds like Darth Vader is trolling the
Right.
or something like that. So.
That's right. The force is strong with Carson. Well, welcome to the show, guys. Returning is Brian. Ken is with me as always. But yeah, first time for Carson and Ron. Pleasure to have you both here. I've been excited to have you both on the show due to, the excitement that's currently around you guys. You want to just give us a rundown on what you've got going on right now?
Well, Ron, you want to tell them what your upcoming shows are first, so people know where they can meet you and say hello and get commissions and all that good stuff.
Yeah, well, I'll be in Nashville, Tennessee next weekend for the ICCC convention, which is basically a Star Wars convention.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
And I'll probably be the only Joe guy there because he's invited the guy who did C-3PO in the Star
yes.
Wars movies.
Yeah,
He'll be
Anthony
there.
Daniels.
Anthony
Yeah.
Daniels. Yeah.
Yeah,
Daniels,
and
yeah.
also Emperor Palpatine. He'll
Oh,
be-
yes.
And I guess a bunch of other Star Wars people that have been in other films,
Yeah.
and then a whole bunch of Star Wars cosplayers all over the place.
Right.
And then
That'll be a fun day.
end of June I will be in Augusta, Georgia for Joe Fest.
Right. Yes.
And that's it. I can't think of any others. I have
Cool.
one in November and up in Freeport, Maine. And that's it.
Well,
Okay.
I was telling Ron on the phone yesterday that if they were going to invite any one like singular G.I. Joe guy, Ron or Kirk Bazigian, those are your two. Ron was the figure designer from 82 to 86, and he designed figures that went as well all the way up to 88. And then he came back around. Most people don't know this, but Ron was designing figures for the 1994 Star Brigade lineup. He's got several sketches that he shared with me recently. So I need to update his creator profile to add that information that Ron actually circled back and hit G.I. Joe again right on the tail end of it. So Ron's, single most prolific figure designer for the entire line. And then Kirk Bazigian was the brand manager for many years, both early on and late in A Real American Hero. So those are the two guys. If you're going to invite any one or two guys to your show, those are the two. So for me, I'm Carson. I build 3D Joes. And what do we have going on lately? We're working on the hardcover version of the Collecting the Art of G.I. Joe series. We did 6 soft covers. It took like 3.5-4 years to fund each of those on Kickstarter. They sold out after a year and a half. And so we've been sold out for the last couple of years. I just did a Kickstarter in January that went bonkers. It was crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, the last Kickstarter, we had 420 backers, which was a funny number to end on. And we raised $47,000. And I was feeling really good about that. This last Kickstarter, we had like 2,676 people or something like that. And we raised $393,000, which is insane.
Wow.
My commitment to every single backer is we're going to spend every nickel of that printing as many books as we possibly can so that for years to come, 3D Joes will be able to keep that art accessible for people. So
that was funded in like 90 minutes or something. Like I was tracking it the day of,
I was competing with Skeletron. I wanted to blow away their because they actually if you guys saw the Skeletron, I'm sure you did. The Skeletron
I did. I backed that too. Yeah,
was equally crazy successful, right? So Skeletron was funded in minutes. I
Right.
wanted the omnibus to be funded in minutes, and it was. I mean, and I think that speaks to the vision of a comprehensive hardcover book that has every single piece of painted artwork from 1982 to 1994. That many people want it, and I had believed in that for like 7 years now. And so the fact that thousands of people are now discovering it, it's crazy to me. It's humbling. It's really, really exciting because we've, between myself and Chad Huckle, we've done over 4,000 hours of work on this stuff. No exaggeration. So to work on something for 4,000 hours or so, and then, you know, it took us a long time to get to that level of success to reach that kind of precipice is really, really amazing. But that's not what we're here to talk about, hopefully. What we're here to talk about as part of that, getting the omnibus hardcover together, I didn't want to just reprint it. I wanted to go around to all the guys that I've developed friendships with over the last decade of building 3D Joes and do new interviews with them. Like Ron and I met back in, I think it was December of 2013. And that's when we first did our audio interviews, but we hadn't sat down and done a formal interview since. And I'd learned so much since then, and so many new questions had come up since then, and that kind of thing. And so Ron, Kirk, I'd made new relationships with Doug Hart, the painter, Ed Morrill, the packaging guy, all these guys. I needed to go around and get comprehensive interviews to add to the hardcover. But I was thinking sit down interviews are good. They're good content, but they're kind of boring. And I'm a video guy, and I wanted to film it. So I was like, what if we did something experiential where they're in their element doing their thing? And so that was the birth of the wacky idea that, you know, you guys can ask a million questions, whatever you want to know. But what resulted in the first action figure that the old school G.I. Joe Real American Hero team has developed in decades sitting right there.
Let me bring you up full screen so we can get a better look at it.
All right. So basically, I made the pitch to the guys. I was like, hey, guys, I'm coming around. I'm going to be interviewing you guys. We've all already agreed to that. What if we take it a step further and we design a new figure from scratch, and we document every part of the process, from sketches to refined art to presentation art, like fully rendered artwork that they would show through to management, to package art that they would put on the package, to sculpted figure, to 3D accessories, to paint masters. We've literally done it all, every step of the way, and we filmed it along the way. So I guess that's what we're here to talk about now. So we started with one. His name is Rotello, and he's got a carrier pigeon named Homer. And when we got done, everybody was like, it's kind of sad that it's ending. I had a good time with it. It was nice to reconnect with it. And I was like, you know what? If anything, if I can get out there and shill my books and raise money and people like believe in me and get behind me for that, it's a no-brainer that I can get out there and do the same thing for all these guys, raise money for them to continue doing brand new intellectual property development. And so that's what we're doing next. Basically, consider this guy like the pilot study, and we want to do a whole series. So that's what's coming, and we've dubbed it Operation Recall, because in the military, they can recall people that have retired to active duty in times of great need. And so I'm kind of the Kirk Bazikian of this thing, where I'll just talk. And as you can tell, I haven't shut up yet. So I want to make sure I have some breathing room for everybody else to get in here. But basically, Operation Recall is me recalling the old team to create all new action figure concepts. Because let's be honest, they keep reproducing the same thing again and again and again, and we need stuff. And there's
people. It's a perfect name. It's a perfect name. So how do we get our hands on it? Maybe you said it somewhere, but I was scrolling to 3D Joes. How do we get our hands on Rotello? Is there going to be a Kickstarter for that, or?
Yep. So I've got engineering budgets in place. I'm actually very happy. I'll announce it on this podcast. I've been working with Troy McKee. He is basically getting ready to spearhead his own operation with John Kukovich called Call Sign Longbow. And that is a very O-ring centric, O-ring styled line. And that's coming to Kickstarter next month, I believe. I don't want to speak for them like 100%. I'm not speaking for them. I'm telling you what I think is going to happen.
They said May, so yes.
Exactly. So they've publicly announced it, so we could talk about it. So they're going to run theirs for May. And I'm taking submissions for Operation Recall from now. It's open call for submissions right now through May 31st, 2022. And then June 1st, I want to go live with it. So off to the races.
Nice.
Amazing.
So we're basically waiting for Troy and John to do their thing first, and then we're going.
Awesome.
It's an exciting idea to be able to bring forward an action figure that you had in your mind and put that into actual. You can hold it in your hand, and other people are going to be able to hold that in their hands. I mean, when you first started 3D Joes, I can't even imagine you think that later down the line you would be sitting down with the legends behind it all and creating your own action figure. That's mind-blowing.
It's unreal. It's
and becoming a modern day legend at the same time.
It's a crazy story.
Well, yes,
it's
bringing back the legend.
It's a very surreal. It's a very surreal experience, honestly, man. And plus, it was like in the background was COVID. We scheduled all these interviews, and I was getting ready to go out spring of 2020. We had already announced, like we had already scheduled March and April were the months that I was coming around to shoot with everybody, and then COVID hit. So it was like, I've got this crazy idea, and oh my God, they all said yes, we're actually going to do it. And then COVID hit, and it was like, I'm not letting that ruin this. I'm not letting that ruin this, you know. So we came up with some creative ways around it. Ron's son, Tristan Rudat, is a filmmaker, and I actually mailed my film gear up to Tristan so that he could film with Ron while Ron was working on it. Like, we got creative with it. And then once the vaccines came out, it was hitting it hard once again.
Yeah.
Because every one of these people that I'm working with, they're in their 60s and 70s and 80s. I didn't want to put them in jeopardy. I mean, if you guys remember what COVID was like at the beginning, it was like, okay, if you're a little older, you're more vulnerable. I was like, I'm not going to go see anybody until it's safe, you know? So we made it through, we persevered. And Ron, will you testify to the fact that when I showed you Rotello, I gave you an out. Didn't I say you don't have to do this guy? You could do anybody you want to do, but if you want to do this guy,
let me bring it up.
Who's that guy?
Yeah, who is this guy? So this was the drawing that I submitted when I was 10 years old for Rotello, and he stayed pretty close. He's pretty similar, but he's a radio teletype communications officer. He's got a backpack and a communications helmet, a submachine gun, a flare gun, and a pigeon, and all that stuff stayed with him. I even told him which parts that they could reuse and which new parts.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
I made sure they knew what the internal workings were of the O-ring figure.
In case I didn't know, right?
Like they didn't manufacture this.
Yeah.
So anyway,
the head looks like it has a beret on it. Like it looks like
it does. It does. My dad was special forces, and so any guy that I was going to design was going to be a Green Beret, of course.
That's why you're such a big Falcon guy. Got it.
Yeah. My dad was SF. So, but so when I pitched this to Ron and Kirk, they totally had the option to just do something entirely different if they wanted to. So
awesome.
I like that you've got the animal companion there, but you've also got for a more modern aesthetic, you've got the drone as well as another option.
So Ron came up with that. Ron, do you want to talk about kind of how you guys evolved and modernized the concept? You and Kirk.
I thought that was your idea.
No, that was yours. So you sent through your initial sketches. If you guys want me to, I've got a top secret page. It's password protected, so the crowd's not going to be able to get into it.
Exactly.
But if you guys want me to screen share, I can show what Ron's initial work was.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
How do I do that?
I'll show you. I'll get it here in just a second. So I'm going to say share.
Yeah.
Screen, and then screen one. Select that. Okay. Chrome has lost permission to capture your screen. Okay.
You don't have a hard copy you can hold up to the camera, do you?
Actually, I do.
Okay.
Just kind of blurry. Hang on one second. All right. Let's see.
Yeah. Could be one option. Just trying to think outside the box, sort of. The low-tech method.
Maybe if I do window and do this window. Okay.
I will say it's.
I'll go analog. It's cool. So the beauty of Operation Recall is that, obviously we filmed the process along the way. And so that's something that was very important to me. It was to capture these interviews while they worked, to kind of get that energy of them like back at it again for the first time, sometimes in some cases in decades. And everything they did was analog back then. Ron was putting pencil to paper first. Ron was putting, pen to paper. He was putting markers to paper for the color studies. The paintings by Doug Hart are all gouache and acrylic. He was putting brushes to canvas. You know what I mean? The sculptures by Bill Merkline, that's all plumber seal epoxy, where they mix two different types of plumber seal together, different ratios for different consistencies. Sit there and sculpt your little heart out, and then when you like it, he sticks it in a little thing and bakes it. And that makes it hard. And then he pulls it out 20 minutes later and gets back to work on it. I literally lived at Bill Merkline's house for 2 weeks, 2 whole weeks. I was living upstairs in the guest bedroom, having dinner with them every night. Bill Merkline's amazing company. It was a ton of fun. They took really good care of me. But so the cool thing about it is we've been documenting this process. This isn't the way that things are done anymore. Everything is all the drawings.
I was going to ask about that, but then I'll let you show what you're going to show first.
Sure. So this is the 1989 submission. This is my letter to the president of G.I.Joe. this is my file card that I wrote up for him.
Nice. Yeah.
This is the drawings that I just showed you. And then this is the very nice rejection letter from Hasbro. It's still cool to have it.
So was it at least signed by Alan Hassenfeld?
No, it was not. So these are Ron's original designs. He did 2 different character studies for Ritello, and there's various differences there. But so to the question of where did the drone come from, this is a Ron Rudat idea. If you look at the drone or the bird pages, he did a mix of pigeons, everything from a real live pigeon with a little bit of armor on them to a fully robotic pigeon like the old owl from Clash of the Titans. A quadcopter drone right there. So
there it is.
That's a little, though.
That idea definitely came from Ron.
That's a little.
Yeah, it was little.
I wasn't concentrating on that so much.
I know, but that's the beauty of the interaction between Ron Rudat and Kirk Bazigian, because as you could see from these sketches, hang on one second. So I'm just going to show you the accessory sketches real quick. Go back to that for a second. You see all these different backpacks that he came up with, right?
Yeah.
And you see all these different birds that he came up with. So they're all pigeons. Some are robotic, some are armored, some are just normal. So the next step was to review that with Kirk Bazigian, and this is how it worked back in the day. So that's how we did it now. I wanted to preserve the kind of command hierarchy and the interpersonal, like the dynamics between everybody, and just try to recreate it 30 years later to the best of my ability. So this is Kirk Bazigian's red-lined feedback. And
that's cool.
So one of the things you'll see is I recorded this whole conversation with Kirk. We went through and reviewed it together. And so there will be context for all of these markups and what he was thinking. Kirk brought a lot of good ideas to the table. He brought the keyboard that's on the forearm. So if there's an EMP, an electromagnetic pulse strike that knocks out all kind of modern digital communications, you got an analog keyboard wired into that backpack. You could still send kind of analog signals. Radio teletype operators are actually still very relevant these days because of the applications in EMP scenarios. You can do a lot of stuff still with radio frequencies. So yeah, Kirk went through and marked all this up, and it was a lot. We talked for like 45 minutes. But this is the point where Kirk was like, you know what? Don't pick. Let's do both. Let's do the bird and let's do the drone. And so this is the list of kind of feedback that I typed up coming out of out of me and Kirk Bazigian's kind of review. And so this is what I sent back to Ron for him to work on for the next round.
Cool.
So yeah, the drone idea came from you, Ron.
So Ron, what was it like to be called back to action?
I kind of liked it in a way because I always had a real closeness to working on G.I. Joe, and I kind of enjoyed it. I'm not up on all the ins and outs of the military and what they do these days, but but back when I was working on Joe, it was mainly Vietnam era.
Right. Yeah.
And I was using things from back then, or World War II, or the American Civil War.
Right.
I added all those different elements into the figures, and but it was kind of a pleasure, really. I'm happy that Carson asked me to work on it, and I understand there might be some more coming in the future.
So Ron,
Yes.
Ron enjoyed himself enough that he was like, "Yes, I want to do it again." So I was like, all right, we're good.
Perfect.
We're good.
Yeah, there's just something satisfying about seeing all this come together, because like a lot of us out there, we grew up, collected Joes, can kind of relate to Carson's experience, and then to watch
Right.
kind of one of our fellow fans move into the space of the creator and kind of watching it through his eyes. And this is not just through Operation Recall, but through the book Kickstarter we were talking about a little while ago too, and also going back to the recall thing, recalling all of you guys, everybody from you, Ron, to Kirk, like you guys said, Doug Hart, Larry Hama, Bill Merkline, Ed Merrill. Did I get everybody? I might have forgotten some names.
I think you did.
Oh wow, okay, just rattling off.
I wasn't checking them all off, but I think you did.
No, but like it's just watching kind of all this evolve, through the eyes of a fellow collector, fan, G.I. Joe website curator. It's really heartwarming to see all of this. And just correct me if I'm wrong, is that a 2-up prototype next to you, Carson?
It is. Yes, sir.
I see. Yeah.
So we followed along, the same exact process that they did back in the day. The only place where we kind of diverged was with the accessory design and development. I did work with a 3D modeler and a 3D engineer printer to execute the accessories. Everything else was sculpted by hand and carried out in the way that it was carried out 30, 40 years ago. So that is what's called a resin copy that was made off of a mold that was made of the initial sculpt by Bill Merkline. I'll actually, when someone else is talking, I'll pull out the original sculpt so you can see what Bill Merkline's handiwork looks like in the flesh, kind of with the different color combinations of
everything back then was done by hand. All the drawings were done by hand, everything. And compared to today, I think they do it on a computer. They do one drawing or whatever it is on the computer and then send it off.
Right.
You lose a lot of that back and forth interactivity that we had with Fratello.
Real big difference.
Yeah. So all your 2D turnarounds and all your control art, I guess, would have been done by hand.
Yep.
This time as well. Okay.
And they were this time. Yeah. So I've got the whole process here in this notebook. I don't want to railroad the whole conversation, but
no, by all means, bring it up.
Yeah, go off the rails. We'll watch the whole thing with you.
So this is what's called the refined line art that Ron Rudat did after his second. This was his second round of work, kind of incorporating the revisions that Kirk and I talked about and kind of typed up for him.
Amazing.
So then once he was done with that, he got into the color studies, right? So color studies are photocopies of that original line art. So you make photocopies of them. He did 6 of them. And just played around with different color combinations to kind of see the look and feel that he wanted for this figure. So there's another 4 of them, right? And I don't think I have a printout. No, I don't. But of course, Kirk Bazigian reviewed these and was like, I want this piece, this piece, this piece, this piece.
He's always that way. He drives me crazy.
Right, which is something that I wanted to capture, was that interpersonal dynamic between Kirk and Ron. Like, Ron will tell you, he drives him crazy. But I swear the end resulting product it got better every step of the way. It was fun watching you guys do what you do because I could see it the concept getting fleshed out and the product getting better.
Well, I'll have you know, I didn't do any of those colored G.I. Joes after I left, the Joe line. That was all Kirk Bazigian's idea.
Right.
He was trying to keep with Ninja Turtles, so he was. He's breaking up all the colors of the Joes,
the neon colors,
the neon
Ninja Force, and, Eco Warriors. I partially grew up in that era, so I have a small soft spot for those. But then they didn't age as well as I would have liked. So I still have some, but
yeah, it's not a timeless color palette, but it is a product of its time. If you look at Power Rangers were huge at the time. Captain Planet, Ninja Turtles, everything was just loud and boisterous and. Honestly, for a toy line to be on the shelf and successful for 13 years, like a Real American Hero was, you gotta keep switching it up every few years, and that's what they did. We can Monday morning quarterback it and say those neon colors are hideous, because now they are. But looking at it as a product of its time, it very much fit in with what else was going on at the time. So, but so then Ron did his final color study, which is that drawing right there. And again, that's a photocopy of the final line art, and that's the seventh color study. And so then he did a more refined piece of artwork. This would be called presentation art, right? Nice. So this is what they would have shown through to management to basically get like the sign off or the approval to keep going with this figure. Like they'd already they've invested some time, and some effort, but it was mainly labor hours for Kirk Bazigian and Ron Rudat, right? More Ron than Kirk, obviously. So at this point, they had to show this to management, and management had to say, yes, you can keep going with that. So the next step after that is those engineering drawings you were talking about. This is a 360 turnaround drawing that was used as a reference. This was actually drawn at a 1-to-1 scale, and that's what was interesting for me filming with Bill Merkline. As he was looking at this, he taped this down to his sculpting table. First thing he did was tape this down, and then countless times throughout it, he used that little measurement tool, where it kind of, you line up this to this and you're checking things. And so he was very religious about, using this as his guiding document. He wanted to be as accurate as he could to Ron's figure design. And then here were the engineering drawings for the accessories, which I basically went from here and started working with the 3D modeler to start pulling together the 3D designed and then eventually 3D engineered and printed accessories. So
interesting.
That's great. Yeah. Now, tell me if this sounds ridiculous, but it honestly feels like G.I. Joe is back.
So we're not calling it G.I. Joe.
Well, no, I realize that.
Yeah. So to be clear, man, I'm going to be really candid on this conversation. There is an open door for Hasbro. Lines of communication are open. If they would like to manufacture and distribute this, that would be my dream. Guys, that was my dream in 1989 when I was 10 years old. Nothing's changed, right?
Yeah.
I love G.I. Joe. But let's be honest, if they don't want to do that, and I understand it's corporate America and investors and lawyers and bean counters and all that good stuff, the commitment I made to these guys when we got done with Ritello, I paid for Ritello out of pocket. And the reason that I was developing Ritello was because I thought it was going to be a chapter in the book. I literally just thought this was going to be a chapter in in the Collecting the Art of G.I. Joe Omnibus hardcover. Let's just design a figure from scratch and we'll have all the visuals and it'll be a really cool visual chapter. We all had so much fun with it, and the end product is so great that the idea just kept growing and growing until it just had to be cut off from the hardcover and become its own thing. And that just happened naturally. So we're calling it Operation Recall. We're not calling it G.I. Joe. They won't be fighting. They won't be fighting Cobra. They won't be, they won't be having skirmishes with dreadnoughts unless something happens from a licensing standpoint. The door's open. Lines of communication are open. I'm hoping, and I wouldn't put my money on the idea or the dream that I had in 1989 that this would be official, and that's okay because we've got manufacturing partners, we've got other roads of getting it developed, and it will come to life. You will be able to own that figure and those accessories, no question.
You've got that was going to be one of my questions. Yeah, that was going to be one of my questions, was what was Hasbro's involvement, if any, on this? But it sounds like it's completely independent. So no Hasbro,
absolutely. This has been a 3D Joe's project from the very start, and it's 3D Joe's and Kirk Bazigian and Ron Rudat. So Kirk Bazigian on basically the brand management or the kind of art direction, Ron Rudat on the figure design, Doug Hart on the package painting, Ed Morrill and his son Sean. Ed Morrill was a packaging executive that worked with Hasbro from 1969 and 1989 on all the G.I. Joe branding. So all of the Adventure Team stuff, the Super Joe stuff, the launch of A Real American Hero, and the rebrand of A Real American Hero in '86, he was the guy doing the branding, the logos, the packaging. So he's legit. He's the guy that hired and managed Hector Garrido, and he's the guy that created thumbnail sketches for Hector Garrido's paintings that went on the package, right? So he was he's a tremendous asset to me, a good friend. He came to my wedding. The friendship has lasted longer than the marriage.
Okay.
He's just a great guy. He's a good friend. He came down to North Carolina. We went to his first Duke basketball game together. Like, he's just a really, really good friend. So anyway, Doug Hart on the packaging, Bill Merkline on the sculpt, Larry Hama on the file card dossier, like literally
perfect.
the whole squad. And they just did it for me because, you know, I've been documenting this stuff for a decade, and I think I've just earned their trust over the years. You know, they just like, wow, this kid's crazy, but he actually like really does put a lot of time and energy and effort into this. And I don't know.
Yeah.
So
I think you got another modern day legend in Matthew LaCroix doing some Paint Masters or something for you. I
did. I'm a big fan
of
Matthew.
Talking to him yesterday, so yeah.
Yep.
So.
I'm a big fan of Matthew LaCroix, and so he did that Paint Master right there. Yep. He does amazing work. And Marauder Rubin, I'm coming for him on the next one. So.
Oh, he does Paint Masters too.
Yeah, okay. He's going to do my next one.
Awesome.
You know, that's the thing about the G.I. Joe community. There's so many of us that are so creative and productive in different ways, right? Like Brian is an extremely prolific YouTuber,
yes.
Huge engagement with his audience, building a circle, a community of people that he engages with on a regular basis. You know, I'm the archive guy that sits there and builds web pages and tries to get people to help me. Everybody, you know, you've got costumers that dedicate themselves to just building costume after costume after costume of amazing stuff, cosplayers. You got customizers that are building amazing figures. You got photographers that are doing insane photography. You've obviously got artists doing drawings. You got writers creating their own stories. Like, the creativity in this community is never ending, you know, and you can go into all these different outlets. So it's been a joy to kind of connect with people like Matthew where I can to like bring them into the project. So.
I think one of the exciting things is that you're also bringing in other people in on this journey too. You know, you've got submissions available for fans to be able to hopefully do what you're doing and have one of their ideas come to life.
Yeah, that's right. And so we just opened that up maybe 2 weeks ago. We've already got dozens and dozens of submissions, and I'm doing my best to not look at them, because what I want to happen, and if you think about this from like a documentary kind of storytelling standpoint, I want me and Ron and Kirk and Mark Pennington, who was the figure designer that followed Ron, to sit down and pour over those ideas together. And then Ron and Mark and Kirk can say, "Oh, that's a good one. Let's jump in on that one." Or, "Yeah, no, not so much on that one." And they're not obligated in any way to use any of them. But,
of course, yeah.
But if it sparks their imagination and gets them inspired, then they will take that idea and flesh it out further, right?
Well, if you need an action figure that looks like a stick figure, I'm happy to present something. That's about the limitations I've got as far as creativity are concerned. I mean, and even then,
it doesn't have to be very super nice, right? Like, this is what they had to run on with my guy. So
yeah.
There's your level of quality. Don't let your artistic ability hold you back. If you've got cool concepts and you're just better at writing dossiers, write dossiers and submit those. You know, to me, in my mind, what we're looking for is completely like new and out of the box and like crazy ideas. Let's flesh out something that you can add to your G.I. Joe collection that isn't redundant to your G.I. Joe
exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I love that idea. You know, because there is a lot of rehashing going on, like we've mentioned, and we've been seeing for a long time now. Is you know, bringing back and then bringing back the same characters, and that's why it always seems exciting when something new is on the horizon. And this is definitely one of those things that's exciting, thrilling. I guess some of those pictures you could also put in its own book as well, right? The art of those that brought them in, its own book. I got to say though, it honestly, when you've got technology the way that we do now, and you've got a whole website dedicated to 3D Joes, but the amount of people that still want a hard cover book, a tangible thing to hold in their hands to go through those images, just goes to show that, you know, these sort of things are still, you know, popular. It's not all digital. You know, people still want a book. They still want an action figure. They don't. Pictures are great though. Don't get me wrong.
I want something to go with this. So
right.
right?
Yeah, yep. We're still tactile people. You know, I bought an iPad a decade ago and tried reading comics on it. It doesn't compare. It's
Yeah.
flipping through,
No.
especially the old comics that were printed on really terrible paper and had that smell to them. And it's like
Yeah,
that. You
yeah.
just crack that open and start flipping through, and it's the nostalgia just kind of
Nothing beats this, you know. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, this is Devil's Due run, so it's 2000s,
Right.
but I mean, it's still
Right.
same,
You want
same
hard
feel.
copies. Yeah, we want to touch and feel our collectibles, and so
that's
the
right.
soft covers, like I said, man, they sold out in a year and a half. I knew I was on to something. I just should have produced more than 1,000 of them.
Well, I mean, it's hard to measure something like that though when everything is about digital these days. It's hard to commit to something that isn't online because how can you prepare for that? How can you prepare for the amount of people that want to have something in their hands?
And here's the other thing that people that don't produce tangible objects might not understand. You're literally gambling with your own money big time.
Yeah.
So you know, if let's say 1,000 people wanted those books, but I thought maybe 2,000 would, and I printed them with maybe a 25% margin. So let's say they cost, for every $100, it cost me 75 to get it made. If I end up selling 1,000 of those and sitting on 1,000, I've lost 25%.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you literally, you can't produce more than your audience actually wants to buy, or else what started out as looking like it was going to be positive margins are actually going to turn out being negative margins, and you're going to be, you know, taking out a home equity line of credit to make an action figure that you wanted as a kid, which would be the world's most expensive vanity project.
Right.
So
that is true. That is true.
But that's the beauty of Kickstarter and everybody doing these pre-orders. I know everybody's sick of pre-orders. I'm sick of pre-orders. I'm especially sick of pre-orders that I'm giving to billion-dollar companies. That feels a little different. Like a pre-order for me, I think like a small company like me asking for a pre-order is a little different than a billion-dollar company asking for a pre-order. But we're all sick of pre-orders, and so I kind of feel bad about asking people to do that. But that's why we need to do it. We need to know how much demand there's going to be so we produce the right amount. So what's going to happen with that Kickstarter? I think I got 3,300 pre-orders roughly with the bonus add-on books. I'm going to produce either 5,000 or 6,500, and I'm going to spend every nickel, and I'm probably going to end up spending some of my own money as well. But that's because I believe that over time I can sell from 3,500 up to 5,500 over the next couple of years. And I've said all along, like, my goal is to make this art accessible, but it's all a gamble. It's a huge gamble. So thank you to everybody that pre-orders stuff, because we really do need it.
Yeah, and you've been really good at giving the updates on there, because I pre-ordered through the Kickstarter there on day one, and I think it's funny. I actually messaged you on that day, and I realized after I sent you a message, I'm like, no, he's got to be dealing with 100 messages today. I think I just pissed him off, and you replied like a minute or two later. I'm like, oh my god, like, you know, like this guy works around the clock to make to deliver, and yeah, just excited to get the book.
I've been ramping up to doing that omnibus hardcover for like 2 years, right? That last update I said when I got my first quote was in 2020, right? So I'd been thinking about and running up to running that Kickstarter for 2 years. So if you're going to do a 2-week Kickstarter, man, take 2 weeks off and just answer people's messages, get back to people, reach out to the press, do everything you have to do to make sure that thing was successful. And it went really well. So,
yeah.
So, Ron, I can't help but notice that you appear to have in the background there some G.I. Joe vehicles. Am I right? And let me just bring you up.
Yeah, I got the dreadnought machines up in the back. That's a vehicle I designed for the dreadnoughts.
Yep.
All right. Yes.
And I have the tank up there too. I'm not sure which one it is.
Okay, there.
He's unplugged himself.
Oh, there we go.
Gone.
He's back. He's back.
He's back. There he is.
I did lose you there.
Is that the mobile?
Yeah.
we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Okay. I'm not sure what that tank is.
Let me go solo.
But I have some figures.
Yeah.
I have some figures on the shelf over there. I don't have very many of them. I'm not a collector that much, so you know.
So you worked on the. Sorry, go on.
What?
So you worked on the design for the Thunder Machine, the Dreadnought vehicle?
Yeah.
So what gave you the inspiration for that?
Basically, it was watching Mad Max that I got
Yeah.
from.
Well,
And,
being Australian, I can appreciate that design. Yeah.
Yeah. It looks like a Mad Max kind of cobbled together vehicle with like a front end of a car and kind of a jet engine in the back. And
yeah,
it looks like something you put together in a scrapyard.
yeah, that's what I was going for.
Isn't the front end a Pontiac?
Yeah, I think it's a Pontiac Firebird. Yeah.
My neighbor, Brad Wirtz, had the Thunder Machine, and I couldn't ever find it in stores. And so it's one of those vehicles that I always had envy of what my neighbor had, kind of thing. Me and Brad get together and play. And I'm not saying this because you designed it, Ron. That was literally my favorite vehicle growing up, because I was also a huge fan of Mad Max, and it definitely took me there. So, yeah, what most people don't know about Ron, not only did he do the first 5 or 6 years worth of figures, he did a lot of vehicles. So, yeah, if you go to the creator profile on 3D Joe's, we've outlined at least every one of them that I've talked about with him personally. But he did a lot of vehicle work and logo work. Did the Cobra logo.
The Cobra logo, I was going to say, that's
right.
They detailed that on the Toys That Made Us. And I was like, oh my God, we get to meet the guy who did the Cobra logo, because we just take it for granted year after year. We just see it and we just think of it as this iconic thing. You know, we forget there's a process behind it, and just appreciation for all those decades ago. Or years ago.
Ron, you were nice enough to send me a picture of your original Cobra logo for my tattoo. So thank you again for that. Much appreciated.
Yeah, I'm surprised it's still around these days. I mean, how old is that logo? It's like 40 years old.
40 years. Yeah, 40 years.
It's a great logo.
And it's still around. I'm just amazed they're still even using it.
It's timeless. How could you replace it?
It's elegant. It gets the point right across. You know immediately what it is. It's just it's got a symmetry to it. It's it's just very easily recognizable.
And the thing is,
they haven't gone.
They've changed the G.I. Joe logo how many times?
They don't say that. Yeah,
they don't mess with that Cobra logo. They leave that thing alone.
Yeah,
I'm literally just about to say that. Yeah.
Perfect.
But the idea for the Cobra wasn't my idea.
Right.
It was a friend of Larry Hamas who came up with the name Cobra, and they just sent the name to us, and I created the logo from it.
Yeah.
So.
Now everybody uses it, so
they do.
Yeah.
I think it's probably the single most reproduced like G.I. Joe artifact of all time.
Oh yeah,
it is.
I would agree with that. Yeah,
it is. Yeah.
The Action Force G.I. Joe's had a different Cobra logo. I found out this week. I didn't realize until just recently that it's literally a symbol of an actual Cobra with Cobra written under it, not a.
It's
no, it's not. Like it's good for what they.
With respect to my friends from the UK, I love you guys, but our Cobra logo was a little better.
Yeah, Ron.
I'm not sure why I changed it up.
Ron got you guys good on that one.
What was that?
I said Ron got you guys good on that one. Your logo was much better than the Action Force one. You may have seen it, Ron, on the Action Force packaging. It's a snake with like a coiled tail. I
think I did that.
No.
For Action Force?
On the moccasin, is it?
No, well, you did. Okay, so you did decals for the water moccasin that are similar. Yes.
I did the curled snake with a knife through it.
Mm-hmm. So, Ron, for the first time today, I saw somebody has a tattoo of your Sky Striker tailwing eagle over the red sun.
Really?
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, somebody's got that on their forearm. So I was actually going to ask you, how does it feel to have your artwork all over people's bodies?
I had no idea. I was going to get a tattoo myself, but I chickened out. So
yeah,
I think the irony would be if you got like a Star Wars tattoo.
Right.
Do that. Just throw the fandom in an uproar.
Yeah. Take that to the convention.
I was gonna say he's going to a Star Wars convention soon. So.
There you go.
Yeah, I can get a My Little Pony tattoo on there.
Oh boy,
genius.
Yeah,
at least get a Decepticon tattoo or something,
Yeah. No,
well, Brian, you gonna show us your tattoo, mate? Throw it up.
Yeah, Brian, is yours easily accessible somewhere?
Yeah, give us a squeeze.
Oh yeah,
there it is.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah,
there we go.
It's the 5 bars.
Yeah.
And what they did was they took it and they split the bars.
Right. And I did notice that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Your original had
three. I wanted it as close as possible to your original. That's what I wanted.
Yeah, that's the one that's hanging on my wall downstairs. That's the original one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Along with the line art to another extremely popular vehicle, the hydrofoil, the Moray.
Yeah,
right,
I have
the
Moray.
yeah.
Ron Rudat designed the Moray too.
Yeah, I have that original drawing downstairs too.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
I actually, since we're talking about vehicles, I actually have something that may be a little bit of a blast from the past for Ron. You had mentioned, and I showed this before we started, the Codename Blastoff documentary that Tristan Rudat did.
Right.
And you mentioned that before you started work on G.I. Joe, you were working on a line of like little kid vehicles called rough trucks. And you had mentioned that you had kind of painted one up, kind of like a G.I. Joe vehicle.
Yeah, well, when we were first presenting G.I. Joe to our management team, I took a rough truck and had it painted olive drab, and then I put G.I. Joe stickers on it.
Right.
And I brought it.
I managed to find this.
Yeah.
It took me a minute. It's not complete. It's these things apparently had like these little shifter things that came out of here.
Yeah,
but I actually managed to find one of these things. They're not. Let's see, where's the logo? There you go.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah.
There's a little blast from the past. I don't know if it was this particular one that you
I think it was bigger than
one of the others. I know they had several in that series.
It was bigger than that. It was metal.
Yeah, so I just out of curiosity, I wanted to see if I could find one, and I did find one. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the first thing I showed at a presentation, and they said no way, no, we're not doing it. And then, but that caught the eye of Bob Prupus, the head of Boys Toys, and for a long time he had the idea of bringing G.I. Joe back, and I'm kind of glad he did, and.
There was a lot of resistance, I understand, when the idea was first brought up. It took a while for that to be kind of accepted as a possibility again.
Yeah, there was some resistance with it, but we came into a presentation and we showed Stephen Hassenfeld at the time, and he said he would like to see a mock-up, of figures and whatever. So we all went back to our seats and our desks and started mocking up figures, cobbling them up from other figures, putting them together and whatever, repainting them. And then we brought that into a presentation. And Stephen looks at it and says, "No, I like this." He says, "Go." So that's how we got G.I. Joe going again.
Wow, because they do kind of a reenactment of something like that. Yeah, because like on the Toys That Made Us, they do kind of a reenactment of that presentation where you guys know the scene, right? And Ron's obviously in that episode. So you were in that meeting as well. That very famous meeting that they reenacted where Stephen Hassenfeld says, he's going to go.
The Toys That Made Us?
Yeah, so you were in that meeting.
That was such a joke. The whole thing, it was, the actors were so stupid.
Yeah.
I do agree. The reenactment scenes were my least favorite part of that show. It just the production quality of them wasn't that great. Actors weren't that great.
The guy didn't look anything like Steven, for one thing.
Yeah,
the scripting wasn't great.
Pictures of Stephen Hassenfeld, and the actor could not have looked more different. I don't know what they were thinking.
I don't know.
Yeah. It'd be like me trying to play Brian going on HCC's channel and being like, "Hi, I'm HCC, and today we're going to talk about."
Seems perfectly fine to me. I see no difference.
Yeah, I can't tell the difference between you two if it weren't for the names.
You got a red shirt, and let's go. Okay, so
have you got a tattoo?
Say what?
Have you got a tattoo on your arm though?
Let me check.
Get a Sharpie.
Nope, it's not Brian.
Sharpie.
Definitely not Brian.
That's
okay.
Get a Sharpie.
Brian. Okay, yeah. Okay, so I guess Ron's saying that meeting didn't go like how they showed on the Toys That Made Us.
Right.
No.
Anyway.
So,
Anyway.
Ron, being that we are on a show called Welcome to the Slaughterhouse, I can't not ask a Sergeant Slaughter related question. And I just have you got any stories you'd like to share in regards to Sergeant Slaughter coming to G.I. Joe?
Not well. When Sergeant Slaughter first came to Hasbro, he came to Hasbro in a camouflage Cadillac.
Right. Yeah.
That he parked out front of our building. And then he came in and he had some talks with marketing, at the time. And then Slaughter came into the presentation room and sat with all of us, the guys that worked on the line. And we had pictures taken with him and all that kind of thing. But no, not much else. I asked him if he was really in the Marine Corps, and he's like, I know he wasn't. So,
sure. Yeah.
But the other thing too is at Joe Fest, the first Joe Fest in Augusta, Georgia, Sergeant Slaughter was there. So I'm just walking around and I bump into him, and he's at his desk, and he's doing autographs and everything, and I look at a poster in back of him.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, I'm looking at that poster and I think, Then I look at the bottom of the poster. My name's at the bottom of it. He's using my artwork for his promotions.
Right.
I think he's still doing it too. He had copies of it made where he signed. So that was interesting.
I did see that image. Yeah, I mean, it's a great looking image, Ron.
Yeah, and after that, he put me in a chokehold.
he's like, hey, are you going to pay for that artwork? And he's like, shut up, clown.
Yeah.
Put you in a Cobra clutch.
Yeah.
There's a photo of that if I remember correctly, Ron.
Yeah, I think he came over to my table last year, and he wanted a couple of prints or something like that. But I wasn't there like usual. I'm outside having a smoke.
Yeah.
And I missed him. But that was kind of neat. My wife got to meet him. So,
and you're going to be in Augusta this year, right? You're going to be there in June. I will also be there, so hopefully I'll have a chance to say hi.
Yeah,
in case not, I'll say hi now. Hi.
I won't be in Artist Alley. I'm going to be with a vendor.
Okay.
He's what do you call him? He's a model maker. Makes customs, and I can't remember his name. He's gonna kill me. I hope he's not.
Well, I'm sure you guys can find that on the Joe Fest website.
Yeah,
we'll figure it out for you.
Yeah.
Well, he's sponsoring me, so
that's cool.
I'll be with him.
Yeah, that is cool.
That's an interesting way to bring guests to shows. Is that a new thing for Joe Fest to have kind of guest sponsors?
I think so. They sponsor me, and Ed pays for everything else.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So Brian, when you do go looking for Ron, it might be easier if you just go to the smoking area and see if he's out there first. Yeah.
We'll do.
He'll be spending more time there.
But I'll bring a cigar. It was hot as hell last year.
Yes,
and all I had company of was some World War II vehicles.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll bring a cigar and I'll park out in the smoke hole. I'll find you. I'll find you.
Well, if you go out to the front of the hotel, you'll see all the smokers sitting out there.
Yeah.
I'll probably be one of them.
I did have a question since we were talking about Sergeant Slaughter, but there's a question that I've always wondered about. Were you around with the design and the decision making for William the Refrigerator Perry?
I don't believe I was.
Okay. I was just always curious about that because the design process for that had to have started shortly after the Bears beat the Patriots in that Super Bowl. So I just kind of wondered what the feeling was with all the folks there in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, about bringing in the fridge right after that Super Bowl.
I don't think Brady was even around at that time. He was just a kid. He was in college.
Yeah, I can say for sure. We just finished the Mark Pennington creator profile on 3D Joe's, and he definitely did the 360 turnarounds and the accessory drawings and that kind of stuff. So it was definitely Pennington. At least Pennington finished it. There was a lot of figures that Ron started and then kind of handed off when he transitioned off the brand to Mark. So there's potential that there was some overlap there, but I do know that Mark Pennington did the 360 turnarounds, accessories, some revisions to the accessories, and that kind of stuff. Yeah. He's also there's audio clips on Mark's page where he talks about each of those. And I think the fridge is one of those that he talked about. So,
yeah, we'll check that one out. So speaking of the fridge, here in Australia, we had mail aways a little bit different, excuse me, to what you guys had in Canada and America. The only way that we could get the fridge action figure for G.I. Joe was it was an ice cream promotion. So if we bought a certain amount of ice creams, I think I'm trying to remember exactly what it was, but I think it was you had to get a specific ice cream and I think mail away the sticks or something on it, or fill out a form. One of those silly things. But you got to think, if you're gonna get an action figure called the fridge, having it as an ice cream promotion is pretty smart. Yeah.
I was just laughing about that. There's like endless marketing potential there.
Yeah. We didn't get. I don't think we got Sergeant Slaughter at all as a mail away. Definitely not the first one, and it was never available to me anyway. If it was, but I
think I did an Australian guy too. I can't think of his name. The one with the hat folded up on the side.
Well, Recondo looks awfully Australian, but he's not from Australia as far as the file card is concerned. But he definitely looks like we actually had an Australian comic book with Recondo on it, and they renamed him Digger and made him an Australian in that way. But that's a great looking figure.
I thought I try to get Australian in the Action Force iteration as well, is my recollection. I could be wrong about that.
Well, so when Ron would finish up a figure design and they would send it to Larry to write the dossier, a lot of times that kind of context, even if Ron's intent was that Recondo was Australian, it would get lost in translation, not make it into the dossier, and not become canon. So,
well, let me tell you, Recondo is definitely Australian in my canon. I've no offense to the file card, but yeah, I've largely ignored that and made him Australian.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, if that was the original intent, well, then that's definitely what I've done.
Yeah, that was my original intent, because I tried getting I tried to be international. I wanted other soldiers on G.I. Joe, like from Scotland. I designed a figure. He had a kilt.
Oh, okay.
Did you take very much inspiration from like the 60s and 70s G.I. Joe uniforms and sets at all? Because I remember there was like an Australian jungle fighter from, I think, the late 60s that had that slouch hat. And I just didn't know if there was any kind of inspiration about that in your designs.
No, I don't think so. A lot of what I see, for World War II and after, and I know the Aussies had the hat flipped up. I think the Burmese had the hat flipped up as well. But like I say, I was just trying to get some international guys in there. Maybe some other ethnic group or whatever.
It was interesting that the international stuff did make it in eventually.
Backstop was Canadian, right? So
okay.
Yeah, I think he was Backstop, maybe. Maybe I don't know.
My mind goes to around 1989, 1990, 91, when you start to get people like Red Star, who's October Guard. I mean, October Guard was in the comic for years and years before we finally got an October Guard figure. Big Ben was British, right? So we started to get a mix of international, and that probably coincided with the cartoon when they did the first Operation Dragfire miniseries. Wasn't that international heroes? I think that's where they switched the jingle. And so I definitely think by that point, obviously they were licensing the heck out of G.I. Joe, and it was manufactured in over a dozen countries. by that point. And so I think G.I. Joe just really started thinking, okay, Hasbro started thinking, okay, G.I. Joe, we got to diversify our roster to include international figures.
Was there international hero theme song? I remember the Got to Get Tough theme song. I don't know if that came later or not. That's the one that I.
That's the Dick full series. That I should say Deke. I know.
I've been wondering if I'm saying it wrong the whole time.
It's probably my hatred for it that makes me.
No, I get it.
You're right the first
time. I'm not a fan of it. I was the right age to watch the show at the time.
Right.
I was born just a little after you Carson. So that's why.
Right. I was born in '79. I started watching around '84. Maybe the second miniseries, and I was hardcore Joe collecting as soon as my mom would finally buy them for me, 86 up through 90. And I honestly think the Deke series is one of those things that kind of made me think, maybe I've outgrown this. I'm serious, man. I think that cartoon contributed to me kind of growing up a little bit, moving on into comic books, and Larry had got me on comics with G.I. Joe, and I moved into Chris Claremont and X-Men,
the X-Men
Batman,
stuff,
Spider-Man, all that
I
stuff.
followed a similar path. I can say a couple good things about the Deke series. Their vehicle models that they used are pretty dead on to toy accurate. The uniforms are mostly toy accurate. They stuck with those designs and pretty well. I'll give them that.
And it is cool to see those 1990 vehicles like the Avalanche and the Hurricane in action. And some of those figures are awesome too. I loved like Ambush and Big Ben. Bullhorn. Some of the best accessories in the line. 1990 has amazing accessories. But anyway, it was cool to see those designs, yes. But the storytelling and the level of quality of the animation itself.
Some of the voice acting was, you might say, half-hearted.
A lot of the same voices were just used.
Well,
there's not much differentiation.
They didn't have Wally Burr on it, right? The guy that directed all the voiceover talents from the original Sunbow and Marvel stuff. He was the driving force behind the delivery of the voices on the original series, and he wasn't involved. And so you can just tell when you take out critical components like that, it starts to fall apart.
Well, Operation Dragonfly is not too bad, but it does fall apart after that. Yeah.
One of the memories I have is Worlds Without End. Grunt goes to live in another dimension. All of a sudden, magically in the Deke series, he's back, and it's like nothing happened, right? So I don't know, like that bugged me even.
Doesn't Grunt show up in G.I. Joe the movie though in a background shot?
We can't expect continuity from the cartoon.
At first, I thought, maybe they're trying to make a break. Like maybe there's no consistency at all. But no, they actually follow up the movie story with Serpentor and all of that. So it's like they are trying to stay within the Sunbow continuity.
Yeah.
But then you got these weird things that you can't really explain, and it breaks your brain.
So Cobra Commander had to make his transition back into a human, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
I always hated that they turned him into a snake because the year before they turned Megatron into Galvatron and had him voiced by Leonard Nimoy. Nimoy. Oh my god. Wow. Don't edit that. I will take the slap on the face from people watching this. I would slap me in the face for saying Nemo and not Nimoy. But arguably they made him cooler, at least from a action perspective, right? And then Cobra Commander is like he gets turned into a snake. It's like, this isn't fair. I don't know.
Well, you can look at that as Cobra Commander got turned into a snake, but that whole scene is just brutal, and that slow transition into a mindless snake. I mean, in itself is actually pretty. It's wild. It's wild.
I can agree with that.
It was emotionally impactful. Yeah.
And then he does have a final hero moment at the end when he attacks Serpentor's other snake. But it's I don't think it's the worst part about it. I think if anything, it's got some impact to it.
So one of the last.
If I can ask Ron a question, did you ever have anything in mind for what was behind Cobra Commander's mask? Did you ever have a vision? Take the mask off. Did you ever have any idea on what the guy looked like?
No, never did.
So I've got a follow-up question for Ron. Ron, was working 1981 to launch for 82 and working up through 86. One of the last series of figures that he designed were the movie figures. So Globulus.
Right.
You worked on a ton of Pythona designs. It's a shame I can't share my screen. I just got in 4 or 5 of your Pythona pre-production illustrations. You went through a lot of Pythonas. So the movie figures were some of the last figures you worked on. Was that one of the things that kind of made you say, okay, I'm ready to transition to something else? Or was it something? Do you attribute any of your desire to get off the line to work on the movie?
I was working on toward the end, my drawings changed too. I mean, I started using colored pencils and markers and stuff like that to do my figures. The idea behind Serpentor was from the Conan movie,
right? Yeah,
you know, where what's his name? Jones.
James Earl Jones.
James Earl Jones' face turned into a snake, and that's where the idea of the Serpentor came from. You know, and later on, I guess marketing wanted to see somebody next to him, like a companion or whatever. So that's where I came up with Pythona. You know, it'd be Serpentor's girlfriend, basically, or she's a witch or something like that. You know,
that's a cool concept. Yeah, right.
And you could tell some of the drawings, some of the pre-production drawings you did for Pythona have that kind of snake cowl thing, the headdress behind her as well.
Yeah, she was supposed to be really mysterious looking and, you know, ready to kill at any time. But yeah.
We're kind of touching a little bit on the fantasy element of G.I. Joe, and even going back to that first wave from 1982, you had some science fiction, you had some laser guns and stuff like that. Did you ever have in your mind like a ratio of like, I want this much science fiction to this much military, or what was your thought process behind that?
No, there wasn't any kind of ratio or anything like that. I just came up with these different ideas, you know, from watching you know, different movies and stuff like that, and Star Wars, and you know, and basically came up with a laser gun. You know, why not? You know. It's the future. And with, you know, with the bad guys, you can do anything you want.
You
know, there's where the fantasy really comes in. You know? And but with the good guys, you really can't. You got to kind of be down front with those guys. And you know, I mean, Blowtorch and all those guys, I mean, they had masks on their faces, but you know, at the time we couldn't have a removable mask. You know, it would have been nice, I'm sure, but yeah.
Well, it would have been cool. I know it probably can't happen, but would love to see Pythona in Operation Recall. I know it can't happen, but
well, not unless we have that meeting and things go really well. We'll see, man. I mean,
never say never.
One way or the other. One way or the other.
Think of a different bad guy scenario. You know,
that's absolutely right, and we get to be extra imaginative with it, like you were just saying,
Russians
Ron.
At this time.
Yeah. So I will let everybody know that the call sign Longbow guys, man, they are fully entrenched in that 80s Cold War kind of Russians versus international American Western kind of unified heroes. So they're, man, it's horrible what's happening in Ukraine right now.
They killed 2 more generals today.
2 more Russian generals got killed today. So, I mean, we can all, I will say it's absolutely horrible what's happening in Ukraine right now, but call sign Longbow giving us that in action figure form so we can just crush the Russians. That'll be fun.
Well, Carson, you must love the Lancer design. They have with the beret, the green. I'm sitting there. I'm like, this looks like a Carson type
tip of the spear. And I had nothing to do with it. So to be
fair, I know you didn't.
I'm not steering that at all. But yeah, no, I was absolutely thrilled to see a green beret at the tip of the spear for call sign Longbow. Like, please, thank you. Give me more.
Do you want me to throw up your image, Ken?
Oh, sure. Let's do that. Sure. I guess we might as well transition into that.
Ken had this Ken had this image ready to go.
Just a nice little avatar, little memoir for today's
that's awesome
session, because because we got Sergeant Slaughterhouse. I thought Kelly might be here too, so I made I went with the bigger Action Force Valiverse Sarge to kind of represent her and Zazel and the Slaughterhouse home. I didn't get very creative with Hooded Cobra Commander, though if I was thinking out loud, I would have pulled the HISS tank out of the back of the shelf there and put the 788 so we could see it. And then, because I know that you're always a big Falcon guy, but I was like, you know what, I'm going to pull out the Night Force Force Falcon, just to make it a little different. It was either that or the Sonic Fighters one.
The much more valuable one that goes in its own little case.
Yeah,
it's in an acrylic case, and because I know Ron, they're always associating it with the version 1 leather neck, but the head scan's the same, the accessories are the same.
Yeah.
So I went with the special missions version as the memoir of avatars for today's talk session. I didn't bring anything for me, so Ralph the dog's gonna have to just be me for this particular one. So
nice to meet you, Ralph. That's awesome.
All right, I think he's hungry. I think he's hungry, so just figured that this would be a good tribute to the fun that we had today. The honor to, being like however many years old, playing with G.I. Joes, not realizing it's the guy who did the sketches. We get to meet him later on, or that, like Brian would make his channel and it would dedicate so much of it to G.I. Joe, or all of it, and Zazel, the same thing with the Sergeant Slaughter aspect of it, and Carson with his sort of visual museum there. And sorry, Vintage 3D Joes is not yours though, right, Carson? That's somebody else's.
I trained, enabled, and empowered him to build Vintage 3D Joes. His name is Matthew McKeeby.
Yes, I saw the profile.
Yeah, so I originally set it up for him. I helped him with his logo design, set up a couple template pages, taught him how to use it, and then set him free. And Matthew McKeeby has put tremendous amounts of time and energy and effort into building Vintage 3D Joes.
That site is also really nice. It's very helpful.
Cheers to Matthew McKeeby for all the hard work he's done on that.
A good place to learn about the 12-inch stuff, right? Because I don't know that stuff, but I always love learning about old toys, right? Like even when you had the truck there, Brian, and you and Ron were kind of talking through that, I was like, wow, this is kind of neat, right? So anyway.
I can't not bring up a closer image of this one here. Yeah. On the what are we looking at on the side here? It's the evolution.
All right, so you notice in my presentation of Rotello, I didn't really go past Ron Rudat's involvement with it, right? So I stopped with the engineering drawings. But if we could quickly flip back to my screen, I will quickly flip through this notebook and show you some more steps along the way. So what we did was once I figured out how big the accessories were going to be, I had to figure out how big those were going to end up on the card. So you'll see there on my left, the accessories laid out on a transparency sheet over a 6x9 card back. So that gave us an idea of how much room we'd have to play with. I sent that to Ed Morrill, who's the old packaging guy that did the sketches for Hector Garrido. He created 4 different sketches, right? There was a few back here. And then this is the one that we settled in on, that we locked in on. For example, I filmed with him. We talked about these 4 drawings and his decision-making process as he went through them for probably 45 minutes to an hour, right? So we filmed all of it. We'll be able to talk about all of it. Now, Doug Hart likes to use reference photos. So he had me shoot some reference photos of myself.
Oh, that's cool.
That's my Kel-Tec sub 2000 9mm pistol carbine. Love that rifle. Wow. And then, I had to give him facial expressions, and it's ridiculous, man. This is kind of embarrassing, but it's what you got to do for the art, Yeah,
that's right.
So then this is Doug Hart's all original painting for Operation Recall for Rotello and Homer and the drone, and it's gorgeous, man. I'm so
that is
happy
great.
This is the original painting that doesn't have his heads-up display goggles and the shell casings popping out of the rifle there as well. So that's not the absolutely final drawing. But from there, I went to Bill Merkline's house. There's Ron's 360 turnaround.
Is there another accident out front?
Oh, I'll mute him while he's talking about his.
Okay. So this is the 360 turnaround that Bill Merkline had on his desk while he sculpted on top of it. That's why it's got all those stains on it and stuff. I love it. It's actually signed by all of them. I got Bill Merkline to sign that. Ron Rudat obviously signed it. What else? Okay, so then the original sculpt by Bill Merkline is right here. This is pretty great. This is just the upper body. but you can see the different colors of the epoxy, the plumber seal epoxy. Yeah. That lighting is horrible. Yeah. I'm sorry, guys.
No, don't worry about it.
I've got much better shots on 3D Joe's where you can appreciate the head sculpt, the level of detail on the beard and everything. But so this was sculpted on a buck, an articulated blue kind of skeleton. And then the light gray plumber seal epoxy was added first for like the layers of clothing. And then he started adding like a darker brown plumber seal epoxy for the details, the straps and grenades and that kind of stuff. So this is the original. And I mean, you really can't see it that well with this lighting, but there's an example of like the flare gun that's on his hip, that's on his thigh, pockets on his hips. Each one of these pockets on the back are slightly different. You know, if you would have done that in 3D design, just using ZBrush or something, they'd probably get one pocket right, and then they'd copy and paste it over to the next side. And it wouldn't have that handcrafted kind of feeling that everything did when they were doing it analog and hand sculpting stuff. Mm-hmm. So it was really a joy to sit there with Bill Merkline for those couple weeks and watch him do his thing. There's the keyboard that Kurt Bazigian added. Maybe if you guys could see that. So anyway, that was a joy. And then once that was done, then you make the molds and you make resin copies. So this is a resin copy of Ritello. Mm-hmm. And then I sent a couple of those to Matthew LaCroix, and he created the Paint Master.
Right. So that's cool. So out of curiosity, because the Paint Masters and all that are 2-ups, how do you get the size back down for the purpose for the tooling to get the exact 3 3/4 inch size?
Right,
because you wouldn't have you wouldn't have a 3D file you would send.
That's correct.
To the factory or whoever, right?
Yep, that's correct. I'm going to go to my pre-production glossary. We're actually working with one. I'm working with the guys at Jody Classified.
Oh, okay. So like Ben and those guys.
Yep. Yeah. Chris Murray in particular and Patrick Stewart have been working with me on this glossary. Give me just 1 second.
Okay.
It's a machine that I'm not thinking of the name of right now.
Yeah. I think Adam Skalmowski is part of Joe Declassified too.
A pantograph machine?
That's right. Pantograph it. Yeah. Yep. Thank you, Ron. Bailed me out.
Good stuff.
Yep. I'll tell you what, man. Here's an insider scoop, a little sneak peek. This isn't like this isn't published and you can't find it by using the drop down menus and stuff on 3D Joe's. But if you Google 3D Joe's glossary of terms, you'll find this page. It's A through Z and all the terms you could possibly hope for. So a pantograph is an instrument for the mechanical copying of a hard copy or pattern that produces an identical copy at the desired scale. So you'll take it from 2 to 1 using a pantograph. I believe we have a video. There's another page we're working on that takes you through the development of an action figure in 26 steps.
That's cool.
If you Google 3D Joe's pre-production, pre-production process. Yep, you'll see pre-production process on 3D Joe's, and that is 26 steps of action figure design. And man, guys, let me like just reaffirm here. This is all free and open and available to everybody to enjoy. All of this knowledge and all this work is just voluntarily given by people like Chris Murray and Patrick Stewart because they want other collectors to be able to get educated on this stuff because they know how they got into it and it was enjoyable for them. So they think if they expose other people to it, they'll love it too. And then if anybody's been to Joe Fest or Joe Con before, what the Jody Classified guys are famous for is they collect all this stuff. They bring it to the convention and they just let you look at all of it. And it's like mind blowing. Yeah. It's 2-ups. It's Paint Masters.
Isn't that the whole reason Declassified was created all those years ago? Yeah. I was talking to one of the original founding guys, Darren, and he told me because he lives well, I've met him in person, and he's basically said that's why Declassified was created, was to kind of bring the knowledge together.
Well, and you had all these collectors behind the scenes, but they were all hush-hush about it because, like, say, for example, if they knew Ron Rudat, they wanted to talk to Ron Rudat, and they wanted to go visit Ron Rudat, and they wanted to buy pre-production stuff, but they didn't want to necessarily share it with the community because then you have more people that want to collect this stuff, and then you got more people competing for this stuff. And so Jody Classified's mission kind of went against that. It was like, you know what? We want to share this with the community. We want to educate the community. We want other people to have the excitement for the pre-production part of it that we have. And so them deciding to partner up with 3D Joe's and help us build some of these pages to share freely and publicly, it's just like what they were doing at the conventions with their booth. It's just putting some of it online through the venue of 3D Joe's. So
I'm gonna find a way to get down to Joe Fest at some point. But is it pretty big now? How was it in 2021?
It's a big show. Yeah. Brian, did you make it down there last year?
I didn't make it last year. I made it in 2019, and then COVID happened, and then life happened. But I will be back this year. The show they did in 2019, my understanding, it was like double the size of the show they did the year before, and it was they still needed a bigger venue. People were packed in there like sardines. It was very, very well attended.
Good to know. Very good to know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's the natural successor of JoeCon. And I've said that for many years. It was actually around for a couple of years while JoeCon was wrapping up. Joe Fest was starting up.
It's growing. It's getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah. It's a good show. It's a really good show, and it's somewhat of a 3-day show. You can get a little bit of trading and bartering and stuff in on Friday, and then you have a full Saturday, full Sunday. And he's done a good job, Ed, of inviting the creators. All we have to do is ask, right? So like Mark Pennington, I had just interviewed him to build his creator profile. And so last year I was like, Ed, you never had Mark Pennington. Can we have Mark Pennington? He's like, sure, come on. So we got Mark there last year. I just always appreciate Ed looking out for the creatives and making sure that they get the invites and they're taken care of.
Yeah. Okay.
So Ron, are you going to have some stuff available at Joe Fest for people to pick up from your table?
I'm just going to have prints for sale.
That's
it.
Are you taking any commissions or anything like that before the show, Ron, where people might be able to commission something now and then pick it up then?
Well, I'm doing commissions. Actually, I got one here on my desk. Cool. And he's not going to Joe Fest, but, he'll get it after Joe Fest. But, yeah, I'm taking commissions.
Last time I was there, he had some beautiful commissions up. Bats was on his desk, and I was like, good God.
Oh, nice.
Whose Bats drawing is that?
Yeah, this one I'm working on Steel Brigade.
Nice.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
Ron, so how does somebody get a commission from you? What's the best way to contact you for a commission?
Messenger.
Yep. Cool. Facebook Messenger.
Yep. Okay. Yeah.
Brian, are you still doing commission work?
Me? Oh, yeah. Occasionally I'll do something for, Patreon, but I haven't actually opened up commissions recently, but I should, and I will be bringing some stuff to Joe Fest as well. So, I've been trying to get back into drawing again, trying to shake the rust off, but I'm no Ron Rudat though.
Oh,
so
no. I'm getting worse as I get older. I'm getting shakier, and it's taken me a while to do.
Well, I'll tell you in all honesty, that's
one of the comic book guy, that's for sure.
One of the reasons I really want to work with these guys and get them back on designing action figures is to give them like another, because it was lightning in the bottle in the 80s, having all the right people in the right place at the right time. And I really feel like Operation Recall is kind of our opportunity as a community to, these guys are still capable of doing amazing work. And I've seen it every step of the way with the Rotello process. And so it's like, I just did that out of pocket because I wanted that to be a chapter in my book. As soon as it was clear, like, oh, wow, they actually enjoyed doing it and they would do it some more. Well, let's go out and raise some money and get them the funding, the intellectual property funding, so that we can do anywhere from 4 figures to 16 figures is what we're committed to doing. So that will be the fundraising.
Wow. Right.
We're going to start out trying to fund 4 of them, Rotello being the first. We would create another additional 3. If funding goes well, we'll create up to 16, and those will be rolled out. Yes. And those will be rolled out and delivered to the community in waves of 4. So yeah, we'll do up to 16 figures. Here's a look at the actual Rotello 2-up.
One moment.
Yep, no problem. So here's a look at the actual Rotello 2-up Paint Master by Matthew LaCroix. Again, the lighting, like his face is kind of overexposed, but it's absolutely gorgeous. Like
that's great.
These guys have not missed a step. They are still more than capable of creating awesome new figures. And so that's what we're going to do, man. We're going to create more of this goodness. So you guys be on the lookout for that in June. Go hard on on the call sign longbow Kickstarter, because those are our friends and those are going to be compatible, O-ring figures with swivel wrists and everything. But save a little money also for June, because just know, like, Ron Rudat, Kirk Bazigian, Doug Hart, Ed Morrill, Bill Merkline, Larry Hama, the team is going to create up to 16 new figures just like we did with this one. So save some money for that.
Honestly, Carson, I mean, I was the guy who backed the Robo Skull, and we all know that if you go deep enough, you can spend a lot of money on that. The HasLab Sky Striker was after, and I backed that.
Yep, I got
looking,
5.
Yeah, I backed 5. Okay, I didn't get that many, but I backed your book, and then now I'm looking at Call Sign Longbow. No problem. And right after that's going to be Operation Recall, and it's just like it just keeps going. Yeah. It's like it's hard to collect anything now except like Joe type stuff,
which is a good problem to have, right? Like,
it's exciting times.
G.I. Joe is my favorite toy by far. Like, I collect some other stuff here and there, but that's a great problem to have. We're on the precipice of an O-ring resurgence, and the majority of it is fan driven. Like, that's exciting to me. Hasbro's actually announced some O-rings, and they're starting to do some new O-ring stuff. It's reusing old molds and doing new colors and stuff like that. So there's no brand new or all original intellectual property O-ring development happening at Hasbro yet, as far as I know. They haven't announced anything, certainly. So for the original kind of vintage feel O-ring stuff to be coming from us, the fan base, and obviously the creators that did it back then are doing it again now, that's tremendous, man. That's as exciting as it gets for me. So
I think this whole process, the whole process is exciting when looking at Operation Recall, because you're really seeing it happen from conception to reality. You got, even on this image here, you can see in the background, you've got all those excellent imagery. You've got the picture in the front. Great name for the pigeon, Homer. I mean, where would you come up with that, I wonder?
Larry did it, man. So when I gave, he did. So I gave him all the information that we had on Rutello and like what kind of equipment that we see him coming with and what we see his MOS as being. But again, it's Larry. He gets to do whatever he wants to do with that dossier. He gets to take that and turn it into something. And so he actually stuck with the Rutello name, which I was cool with. It's a radio teletype operator. But yeah, he changed. When I was a kid and 10 years old, I just called him CP, which is ridiculously bad. And so he changed CP to Homer, and I was happy to see that. But the original drawings, are at the top, and then Ron's first swing of concept illustrations with Kirk's markup are in the middle, and then Ron's 360 turnaround are at the bottom. And again, we filmed all of that. I've got 40 hours of footage, so this will be a doc. Yeah. The omnibus hardcover people don't know this yet because I haven't announced this yet because I don't want to over inundate them with different messaging. But Operation Recall, the documentary, is going to be on that disc set that's included with the omnibus hardcover. So
really?
Operation Recall is actually a part. Yeah. So Operation Recall is a part of the omnibus hardcover. I just don't want to confuse people with too many different messages. You know what I mean?
No, but see, that's a good message. What it's saying is the Kickstarter backers are getting more stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And it ties in immediately to the next Kickstarter.
That's what I love to do. That's what I love to do, is just pack it full as much as I can. The other thing I haven't shown you guys yet is that we've got a quote in place for a DVD digipack that's the size of a disc, but multiplied out by 4 because of the the little plastic trays. It's called a digipack, and it's basically it opens up once and then it opens up again. So you have the 4 discs, and when you fold it all up, it's the size of the Pocket Patrol, and it's gonna be designed like.
Oh, that's so cool.
And when you open it up, the flip side, it's going to be cartoon illustrations of all the major people that are interviewed. So for Ron, you'll have Leatherneck. For Kirk, you'll have Law. For a Guy, you'll have Cross Country, et cetera, et cetera. So we got a lot of stuff cooking that,
Whose idea was that? That's a great idea.
I think the Pocket Patrol idea came from a backer, and then the opening it up and showing the cartoon versions of each of the legends that created this stuff, that was me. So good ideas come from everywhere, and they just add on top of each other.
Amazing. Like, that is such a brilliant idea. I'm excited. I'm excited for that.
I've got a mock-up. I just can't share it yet because Brian Sauer wants to work on the character more. So,
Well, I look forward to seeing it. What an amazing idea. Yeah,
because the slipcase for the book is the collector case, and then the DVD case is the Pocket Patrol. So you basically just have the collector case and the Pocket Patrol there, and then the 24 print set is going to fit in. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm doing a quote right now. I'm not going to say it yet.
Sure.
I don't want to say anything that I'm not 100% sure we're going to be able to deliver on.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Oh, they're coming to get me. Can you hear it?
It was your time, Zazel.
Yeah. All right, they've gone. They're past. All right, I've survived another day.
Yeah.
Till tomorrow.
Yeah, you never know. Yeah, in Australia, we're all convicts over here. So
right. It's a generation of criminals.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, that's the way the Dreadnoks are all Australian, right?
Yeah. Did you know they edited Buzzer's file card 4 times? There's 5 different versions.
Yes.
Of Buzzer's file card.
I didn't know that.
They're so sensitive to it. At first, they took out some kind of mental health condition, and then they stripped out the mention of biker gangs in and of itself. Like it's crazy how much they edited these things.
Right. They took out the biker gang reference, I think, on Torch too. So there must have been some sensitivity about that.
Mm-hmm. First, it was Zartan being a paranoid schizophrenic. They got rid of that, right. And then Buzzer had delusions of grandeur, some kind of crazy, some kind of delusional mention there, and they took that out. And then they came back and took the biker gangs out. So
well, we're all crazy in Australia, so yeah. I get it. Although we did get Skymate as a G.I. Joe, so thanks for that.
Nice. He's a good one.
Yeah, I don't mind it. It's a good one. Yeah.
It's pink boomerang's hard to find though.
Yeah, it is. And you think, bright pinky. How do you lose something like that? But
right.
But it's not a bad looking figure. I've seen someone do a repaint of it in earth colors, like browns and greens and stuff. That looks pretty cool too. It's a great sculpt, no matter what the color of it. But I don't mind the pink hat. That's fine. It's often the detail on the hat, but gets often overlooked. But that's a nice added detail.
It's cool to see the early 2000s O-ring reissues of figures that were first made in the 90s, because it really brings some of those molds and some of those character designs to life. That people overlook because of the neon 90s. When you see it in the early 2000s and the more earth tone type stuff, there's a lot of good figures there.
People weren't buying those in the early 2000s, and then now in the secondary market, people are like, I want version 6 of that character or whatnot. So it worked out quite well. Right?
Yeah.
Well, they had some great characters that they added later on, like Action Man got his own G.I. Joe, I think in the Night Force set, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
I can't remember who else was in that one. Jinx, maybe? Lady
I'm not sure about that specifically, but there was a General Flag. The dossier was for General Flag the Third, but the figure looked like General Flag from the comic. I think I don't remember exactly what year that was, but people appreciated that one as well for what it was. And more October Guard, right? You got.
Yes.
Yeah.
Finally,
yes.
All those years later, still building out the October Guard.
Yeah.
Well, at least they got around to them though before they transitioned out of O-ring.
Speaking of which, some of those call sign longbow characters might look good as October Guard troop builders.
Absolutely. I think a lot of their kind of Russian figure designs are going to fit in seamlessly with October Guard on the shelf.
So that's another selling point for just people with their own headcanon, right? So, yeah.
So have you guys come up with an enemy for your guys?
No, but so here's the thing. We're going to take submissions until May 31st, and then we're going to get together early June, and that's where we're going to make the decision of, there's going to be a decision made one way or the other. And at that meeting, we'll be, brainstorming, okay, who are we fighting? What are our factions? That kind of thing. And we'll go through all the different concepts that were submitted. And again, Mark and Ron will get to pick if there's any ideas they like that they want to flesh out, they'll pick those. And at that point, that's when I'll let the people that submitted those ideas know, hey, oh my God, your idea is actually going to be fleshed out by these guys.
You coming up here or are we?
I'm going to come up there.
Really?
Yeah, I'm gonna. Yep. So I'm thinking I'm gonna bring Mark up.
You're gonna bring Mark up?
I have to, man. I think I get these visions in my head of how I want these things to play out, and then I work my hardest to make them happen. So my vision as of right now is me, you, Kurt, Mark, sitting around a round table. I've got some cameras set up. Maybe Tristan's helping me shoot it, or maybe I've got 1 or 2 other people with me. And it's an R&D brainstorming session. This is how they used to do it back in the day. They would get together, throw around ideas, talk about who they haven't done in a while, who could they do now, who's got some new ideas. And coming out of that meeting, my goal is that, we have it narrowed to 16 different concepts that we want to flesh out. 8 for Ron, 8 for Mark, and get to work.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to start thinking about different characters now.
Yeah, you got another 6 weeks, right? So plenty of time, Ron, plenty of time. But then you're just coming out of that meeting. We're it's not like a concrete list, but what I definitely would like to have is like, these are the 16. Well, Ratello's one of them. So these are the 15 other types of figures that we're looking at building out.
Yeah. That would be an exciting roundtable. So if you're going to make a video out of it, that'd be cool.
That's the plan. That's definitely
so. If people submit ideas that that might be for the opposite end of the good versus bad guys, you might consider that as an option.
You could be
like, I understand
good guys, bad guys, biker gangs, mercenaries, whatever you want it to be. Like, don't limit. It could be ninjas, it could be cyborgs, it could be whatever you want it to be.
Space aliens.
Yeah, and we're happy to look at it. Probably not going to build out the Lunartrix Empire. I'm not interested in that. But I will say, Mark Pennington.
That's the one thing I was looking forward to.
More Lunartrix Empire. In my talks with Mark, he expressed like frustration with, he was there from 86 to 89. He expressed frustration with not being able to really like dream big and wacky and weird with Cobra. They wouldn't let him do an android, for example. And he was like, they just did bats. Like, why can't I do one? So I think Mark might want to do some of the more out there concepts.
I think so.
So we'll see how it goes. It'll be fun to see Mark and Ron, because Mark and Ron didn't have a lot of overlap. It was more Ron passing the hot potato to Mark. So it'll be fun to see Ron and Mark in the same room looking at designs and see how they approach it and which ones they gravitate towards, or if they come with their own
they might
ideas.
come up with some. They might bring their own ideas that they've wanted to probably put out there, like you have, and submit their own ideas, which would be still great to see.
Yep.
I can't wait to see all the designs come out.
Mark is more of a comic book guy, and his imagination is out there. So, but he does some fantastic, artwork.
I know he wants to do another. We'll call him an all black commando with like a spice of ninja in there.
Right.
He designed a figure like that back in the day, and he was not at all happy with it. And I tried to talk him back from that, because I love version 3. Personally, but he was not happy with his design. And so I was like, well, look, you're not going to be probably designing Snake Eyes with us, but you could probably do another very dark commando ninja type guy.
Baby.
So
version 3 Snake Eyes is great.
I think so too.
Yes.
The only thing I didn't like, I wish those damn trench knives could have come off the chest, and they fixed that. In the modern era, they made them removable, and that modern figure is very cool because you can take those trench knives off and put them in.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, those aren't trench knives. I forgot what they call those. But it's the Chinese have been using those for ages.
With the knobby knuckles on them, right?
I looked up the name of those one time, and I can't think of them right off the top of my head. Yeah.
Okay. Well, they're cool, whatever the heck they are.
Yeah, whatever they are, they're cool.
I enjoyed the figure. He said the only part that he liked on the figure was the blowgun. I was like, are you kidding me?
Look, every time I put that on the shelf, the blowgun has to just kind of like sit next to it, because
sit off to the side. He does have too much gear. He's got too much gear. He suffers from that problem of a figure having too much gear that he can't carry at all.
Yeah, and I know, like, it's, you want to get lots of stuff, value for your money. But even since when I was a kid, that was a little bit of a pet peeve of mine. If the guy couldn't carry everything, then something's getting lost.
Ron, did you and Kirk ever have kind of an unspoken rule of, okay, don't design him with more stuff than he can actually carry?
No.
I don't feel like there was a lot of your figures that suffered from that.
I had free control over what I was doing. All the figures I did, were basically coming out of my head, and just creating, and Kurt had no say in that. We would go to a meeting, and I'd show all my sketches, and he's there, this, and this, put them all together, and that was it. But I did everything else.
Yep. It was fun. It was fun to watch y'all's process. on Rutello and see the back and forth and see the evolution of it.
He went a little overboard on that one.
he marked up Rutello more than it sounds like he marked up Rutello a little more than he marked up figures.
Yeah, it's easy. It's easier to say something about another person's artwork rather than doing it yourself.
Yeah, it's a little easier to be a critic.
Yeah, really.
Right.
Yeah, but he definitely did bring some good ideas to the table. Like I really like the keyboard idea. I like the heads up display with whatever the drone is seeing. That's what Rutello would be seeing on his heads up display on his helmet. Cool. So like I remember those couple things coming from that call. So that's what impressed me about him was like, okay, he's not just like picking and choosing. He's actually bringing really good ideas to the table. So I respected that.
Yeah, there's a lot of talent involved. It's it's saturated with talent.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying about lightning in the bottle. If you didn't have Larry driving the comics and creating memorable personas and personalities that people wanted to engage with in their imagination again and again, if you didn't have an awesome cartoon with Wally Bird doing the voiceover direction and all these talented actors doing the voices, if you didn't have Hector Garrido, God bless him, for doing the package artwork that made you fall in love with that figure right away. Ed Morrill doing the branding and package design. They still haven't improved on that package design, man. Just that blister with the accessories over it, tons of room for the art, tons of room for the logo, a black background up here so the logo just pops right off of it, but still an explosion on the figure, so it gives you license to use all these highlight colors on the figure itself. Like it's brilliance all around from every step of development. The sculptors that did the amazing sculpts, brilliance all the way around, and marketing which is Kirk's forte. How he talked about it from newsletters to cross-sell catalogs, just brilliance all around. It was lightning in a bottle because everybody was extremely competent at their job, and everybody was marching in lockstep to create this awesome product.
If it ain't broke, so
that's it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So
how far are we off from talking about comic books or cartoons or any other tie-in?
Well, I'm waiting for the final answer. You guys know you guys know what the elephant in the room is and what I'm waiting on personally. I'm going to give them until June 1st, and then that's when we're making our decisions one way or the other. Because what you're asking about is what's the world going to be that we're living in, and what's that play space? Because Larry's writing the dossiers. Is he writing the dossiers to live in this one world, or is he creating a new world? Right. And we're happy to do either. You know what I mean? And so we'll see, man. I guess that's the long answer for really the short, succinct version is we'll see. And those decisions are right around the corner. So
either way that it goes, it's still exciting times.
Ooh.
Whether it's got,
I'll give you a spoiler. I'm sorry, Zazel. I get excited.
No,
I'm like I'm like a marketing guy. I can't even help it. But it's genuine excitement. Anyway, so I'm good friends with Robert Atkins and Brandon Jerwa and Tom Feaster because we did a series together of YouTube videos. They've all agreed that they would be happy to make mini comics that go in the Operation Recall figures. Like the 1993 mini comics.
Amazing.
Right? So yeah. And I haven't pitched to Larry if he would like to write for those as well.
Robert Atkins, man.
Yeah.
He's the man.
He is. His artwork is comic book G.I. Joe in the modern era to me.
Right.
He's the single artist that when I think G.I. Joe, I think Robert Atkins.
Yeah.
So yes, anyway, Zazel, yes, comic books, would love to have them and just have to figure out what world we're playing in. Yeah. And we'll be making those decisions very soon.
And Brandon Jerwa, you just said.
Yeah, Brandon's a good friend of mine. We did the YouTube series together called G.I. Joe Debriefed. It's on the 3D Joe's YouTube page where we were reviewing the cartoon. And
between him and Josh Blaylock and a couple others, that Devil's Due Run in the 2000s is so underrated.
Yep.
Like ridiculous. Like I've done a whole video. Zazel knows which one I'm talking about. Brian may have seen it as well about Duke and what they did to that character. And it was because of that creative team at Devil's Due that turned him into a Black Ops agent, made him a little bit darker. So when he came back to the team, he was a little edgier. He wasn't Duke, right? And I just have such an appreciation because I was a bit young for the comics, as in if I had been born 2 or 3 years earlier, I would have been all into the comics, right? So when I was in my early 20s and I got into the Devil's Due Run, Brandon Jerwa's name was all over a lot of those comics. So,
yeah. His Master and Apprentice stuff is really well celebrated. His Snake Eyes Declassified series.
Snake Eyes Declassified is so good. And sorry, Master and Apprentice, you said he wrote too, right? Like,
did he do that? I got to check on that. I
got to check as well.
I was thinking Snake Eyes Declassified. I misspoke there, but let me check.
Well, Declassified is a really good miniseries as well.
That's what I was thinking.
And it could still be canon, right? I mean, it's that's the problem with Devil's Due. It's not canon anymore, but Snake Eyes Declassified could be.
Who knows where that's going to go? I mean, IDW's license is up at the end of the year, and it looks like, what is it, Skybound? Is that the name of the company that's probably going to be taking it over?
Yeah. Who's the head of that company? Is
Robert Kirkman, right?
Robert Kirkman. I was going to say the Walking Dead guy, right?
Yeah, so. Exactly. So I have heard that he's like a genuine G.I. Joe fan, like a diehard. So that's exciting. I mean, I'm glad that the guy that
is exciting. Yeah,
will really care about it. But what's he going to do continuity wise? Is he going to respect, Devil's Due or Image before Devil's Due? They did the first 25 issues. It was Image.
Yes,
Image, Devil's Due, IDW, Marvel. Obviously, Hama picked up right where he left off. So I hope that they'll allow him to continue. I think he's going to make it to issue 300 under IDW by this December, which is awesome. But if he doesn't want it to stop, I don't want it to stop. You know what I mean? So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, we'll wrap it up shortly. Is there anything else we want to touch on before we do? Anything else we want to shout out?
Shout out to you guys for doing the hard work of editing this thing. Everything that we create, it's all work, like people don't think of it. This is just entertainment, and like a lot of people are doing these and they're just live streams, but I know anything that's post-produced is exponentially more work. So shout out to you guys for having me on, Ken. I really appreciate your constant contact, reaching out and making this happen. I really appreciate you guys.
Yeah, well, a lot of some of the followers
thanks, I appreciate it.
Yeah, and some of the followers of my channel as well are like, have you thought about, talking to Carson and getting him, making some contact? He's got the same excitement you do. And I'm like, no, nice. I think he has more excitement when it comes to G.I. Joe specifically, actually. I'd have to combine, like, my G.I. Joe plus Transformers plus wrestling plus Star Wars plus He-Man excitement might equate to just your G.I. Joe excitement. So that's what I was trying to explain to a buddy of mine. But he was like, you should do something with Carson. And I pitched it to Zazel. I'm like, why don't we do something here? Right.
It's been crazy, man. It's been crazy. From, like I said, I met Ron. I'll never forget my first trip to visit you, Ron. I went up. It was one big trip, and I sat there with you and Kirk Bazigian and Guy Cassaday, all in like a 4-day trip, and it was like the biggest weekend of my life up to that point. Like to meet these guys that were your heroes that actually created this stuff that were so impactful on me in my childhood. And I had just started 3D Joes, and it wasn't like a lifestyle for me yet at that point, but it definitely was like, man, that really broke open the door to like a whole new side of this hobby of meeting these guys and documenting their work and talking about and trying to, preserve it in perpetuity for everybody to know where did things come from and how were they developed. It's hard to believe it's been 10 years, man, doing the 3D Joe stuff. It's been crazy. Look at all the opportunities I've had.
Where did the time go?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Awesome. And I get that.
I want to do a few shout outs before we wrap it up. This was sent to me by Space Commander. He's currently on vacation, so he wanted to show this off to you guys. That's his Space Commander figure in the middle there. He's in England at the moment. So he must have come out of his space capsule and just gone home for a bit. But he wanted to show one of those off, and I was like, "Oh, I'm suffering from a hangover today. I don't know if I want to look at that." So yeah, Space Commander did the voice of the Bulldog in my latest episode of the Slaughterhouse Wrestling Championship. Kano the Warlord was voiced by Wayne Matty, who is the actor for Sergeant Slaughter in the Young Rock series.
Yep.
So check that out. I just watched G.I. Joe Berg's The Renegades The Forge episode, which dropped today. Great episode. You might see, you might hear a familiar voice as I do my very best, worst impression of Sergeant Slaughter. And check out Ken's latest History of Transformers, 1984. Very, very comprehensive look at the 1984 wave of Transformers. Great video. If you haven't checked that out, please do.
Thank you so much, buddy. Thanks, buddy.
I will check it out again and again. It's a very good one. HCC 78. Brian, what have you got coming up? Joe Fest.
Joe Fest in June, and more G.I. Joe videos in the meantime. Cobra Convergence coming up shortly after that in July. It's going to be a busy year, so I'm just trying to keep this truck running. So yeah,
nice.
That's
where can people get commission from you? Yeah, welcome back, Brian. Where can we get commissions, Brian? Because I want to get a Hood Cobra Commander's picture when I can. How do I get one of those?
A good question. That's a good question. I'd send me an email. Just send me a message or something and let me know. I had done commissions in the past, but I had kind of gotten away from it. But I need to do more. So this is something.
Well, I enjoy your videos where you're doing them live.
Huh?
Those videos you do where you're drawing them live. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I suppose if I get a commission, I can do it on a live stream. So yeah, that'd be cool. But
there's an idea. I'll have to hit you up.
How to set that up? So I'll think of something. I'll figure something out.
All right, well, I'll hit you up for one of those. Ron, I'll definitely hit you up for a commission piece as well. If anyone wants to hit me up for a commission, I do a pretty mean stick figure, and by mean I mean like it's no good. Yeah. I can't even make them symmetrical.
It's at least got an unhappy face and like a tilted eyebrow.
Yeah. I'll give it that much at least. Ron, is there anything you want to share before we kick this episode off?
No, not really. I just want to thank you for having me on and seeing all the guys. My buddy Carson. I see him every now and then and talk with him, and it's good to see Brian. I've seen your posts on Facebook, and I'm with you, man.
Yeah, and thanks, Ron, for a lot of things, for everything. I know that this the stuff that you did on G.I. Joe, it was a job, some time ago, but for me and for a lot of us in our formative years, it was kind of our first exposure to art, to creativity, and it made an impression. And some of us, went on to do art ourselves, so it kind of got us a push on that. So I never thought that I'd have a chance to sit here and say thanks, but now that I have the opportunity, I'm going to say it. I'm going to say thanks for that, and it's had a big impact.
Well, I'll tell you, I've always been interested in the military. I thought I was going to be in the Marines at one point because my dad was a Marine. But I've always respected our military as far back as the American Civil War. I was a Civil War reenactor for about 13 years, and I really enjoyed that. And that's why you'll see some of Civil War buckles and caps on some of the Joe figures.
Right, yeah. Yes.
But I truly respect them quite a bit. And, I don't know what else to say, but,
Well, thanks, Ron. Thank you. Well said, Brian. The sentiments, echoed through all of us, I think, to you, Ron, with everything that you've done.
100%.
Yeah, I think there's countless kids of our generation that were turned, to Brian's point, that were turned on to a life or a career in a creative field of some sort. And that was certainly the case for me. First, it was the package art and the sculpt art and, respecting the entire creative process of that. And then watching the cartoons and reading the comic books. It was just all, it set your imagination on fire. You had this whole world to explore. And that was certainly the first big kind of creative thing for me that I think set me on the path. I ended up going to design school and doing video and animation. So yeah, thank every one of them that created that lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, for sure.
Very well said.
And Carson, where can people find you if they don't already know?
3djoes.com. Enjoy the archive. It's free and ad free and there for everybody to enjoy in perpetuity. So get on 3D Joes and just enjoy it. I would say go under pre-production and go under creator profiles. Look at Ron's page, look at Kirk's page, look at Mark's page.
I go to 3D Joes all the time, and because I'm looking for reference on certain figures that I'm doing commissions for.
Yep.
It's very helpful.
Thank you, Ron. I appreciate that. My two favorite pages on there, other than the creator profiles, I have to build in the direction that I'm interested in building at that time, and it kind of ebbs and flows. And the last few years, I've been laser focused on meeting these guys, interviewing them, documenting their stories, and creating like creator profile specific pages. So that's been a tremendous amount of fun for me. So go under pre-production and look at the creator profiles. I love those. But also, if you're just looking at figures, go to the yearbook page, and it's every carded figure from 1982 to 1994 on one page. Scroll through there and see,
I've seen that.
like, so then you'll see one like 1986 Beachhead. Oh my God, I had that one. I love that one. And you just click on that, and then it takes you to Beachhead's page. So I'm really happy with that page. And then there's something similar for the vehicles. Under the vehicles tab, there's a vehicles yearbook where you can scroll through the box art for every single vehicle. So those are great places to start. There's the Rolodex if you want to read the mythos and read the file cards. All those are in one page under figures on the Rolodex page. So get into 3D Joys and get into 3D Joes, enjoy it. Also check out operationrecall.com and subscribe to the newsletter so you know when the Kickstarter goes live. But I'm here to tell you, like, I'm shooting for June 1st, so everybody else get out of the way. No, it's going to be fun. I can't wait to get back together with Ron and Kirk and Mark and go through all the submissions that everybody's sending in. And we're just charting a path for probably another year's worth of work. And what Operation Recall is for me is getting out there, trumpeting this idea, raising money so that these guys can do a bunch more work and make a bunch of new figures for us. I'm going to basically get out of the way, though. I'll be involved in making sure everything's moving along and distributing all that money that we raise, right, to get everything done. But for me, my work over the next 6 or 7 months is the hardcover, the omnibus hardcover. We're laying out 560 pages worth of content right now. I've got 40 hours worth of interviews to cull from to pull in new content that gets peppered throughout that book. So I'm laser focused on the hardcover for like the next 6 or 7 months. Meanwhile, it's my hope that Ron Rudat, Mark Pennington, Kirk Bazigian, Ed Morrill, Doug Hart, Bill Merkline, all those guys are working on new figures for us to enjoy, So
amazing.
There's a lot of good stuff going on right now, man.
Oh yeah. Agreed. Yeah. Well, time is valuable, and I appreciate everybody here spending some of that time with me. And we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you.
You're dismissed.
Take care. Thank you.
Thanks, Hazel.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Au revoir.
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, hit that notification bell, and leave a comment down below.